brighten up those dark mornings. Wheeler, Ollie, and Lecter. Mornings at the Cabin.
Mornings at the Cabin. Happy Thursday to everybody out there. Lecter and AJ with you. No Jesse this morning. He continues his isolation deep inside the Iron Mountains of Yellowknife. And Mr. Ollie Williams had a late soccer game last night, so no Ollie this morning either. Lecter and AJ holding it down on your Thursday morning, and we're definitely going to be joined by the third aggressive female in line here at Cabin Radio.
You lose count after a while.
Yeah, I don't know at this point where...
She's definitely top four.
Sarah Price and Emily Blake. I don't know where they line themselves, aggressive female number one and aggressive female number two.
It's tough to say.
Somewhere between those two.
They're neck and neck in different aspects of aggression.
Yeah. Somewhere between those two, Sarah, negative, Sibley, comes in third or second if they're tied for first. I don't know. It's
I'd say she's climbing the ranks, too.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, because she's getting sassy. She's putting us in our place pretty quickly here.
She's leaving Brack in the dust.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the aggressive female race goes.
Yeah, Brax is downright kind at this stage.
Yeah, she's developed a reputation of being scrappy.
Yep. Scrappy Sibs.
Disagreeable? That's maybe a bit far. Yeah,
seems a little harsh.
Maybe a bit far. Okay. Anyway, Sibs had a early morning chat with none other than Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So we're gonna get her in here on the show and grill her about all the nasty things that she asked him. Mainly, 2021, beard or no beard?
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast.
Mornings at the Cabin. A little Leroy Stagger to start off your morning. I wanted to throw that one on because I actually did a little interview for a television show out of Nova Scotia yesterday.
Why and when?
We got an email a few weeks ago, just a mailbox from some guy named, what's his name? His first name is Joe. I can remember that much easy enough. Can't remember what his last name was. Anyway, lovely gentleman. Puts on a weekly sports show, I assume on like a community television station out of somewhere out of Nova Scotia.
Oh, yes. This is the guy originally from the States, right?
Yes. Or
Gotcha.
He's living in the States now. I think he's originally from the East Coast.
Oh, okay. Other way around. Yeah.
And they do a weekly television show that's kind of focused on sports, and they do a weekly feature called Small Town Spotlight, which, I mean, Yellowknife just fits into like a glove, of course.
Yep.
So they reached out to us asking if we wanted to take part, and basically, like, they just look for someone who can kind of promote the community a little bit and talk about it.
Sure.
And
who better
Ollie,
than
of course,
Cabin Sports Radio host?
Well, that's right. Ollie, of course, is way too busy, so he shuffled it off to me, and I was like, yeah, all right, let's do that. Was a little nervous going into it yesterday, not because I was nervous about being interviewed for a TV show, because, I mean, well, that's kind of what we do. Except, I mean, we haven't done Mornings at the Wabin in a bit, so... I was still staring at myself on the Zoom screen. You know, you know how it's impossible to like stare at your host when you're on Zoom. You're just like looking at your own face, thinking like, "What am I doing? No, that's not a good resting face."
Put your eyebrow down. What are you doing?
I can't see my eyes. What's going on? So I did that. It was a lovely little interview. Promoted the heck out of our lovely city of Yellowknife here.
Good.
And yeah, he emailed me after and was like, "Are you familiar with an artist named Leroy Stagger?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. We actually have a Leroy Stagger song in our playlist right now. It's a tribute to Gord Downey. AJ and Ollie both hate it, but it's a lovely little tune there." So there it was.
I was just going to say, who is this? Because I like this song.
Yeah, little tribute to Gord Downey called "Hey Hey Song for Gord." He also asked if I was familiar with Matt Mays. Like,
of course.
Why? Yes, I am. He may have played up here once, probably not twice, but once anyway.
Once for sure, yeah. Anyway,
welcome to your Thursday morning at the Cabin. Lecter and AJ with you this morning. Lots coming up today. Sarah Sibley had a big first thing in the morning interview with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, so we'll catch up with her on that probably in the next little segment here. Got to let her come down from that. You were here. It was bright and early, 6 a.m.
Yeah, the interview was at 6:10, and she was here, about 5:45. getting prepped just so we could test out a few things.
Right, yeah.
Internet's been a little shaky.
Internet has been a little shaky, and
So-
that's the only reason I was nervous about that interview.
Yep, which is
Yesterday
why
afternoon.
you always have a plan B.
Yeah,
So
I
we
didn't. It just kind of worked out, which was nice. But good to hear that the internet rather, is still working well.
Yes.
This morning.
I think we have it figured out.
Appropriately, timing-wise, you may notice that on cabinradio.ca, we have a story about Northwest Tel rolling out its prices for its unlimited plans as of November 2nd. That was the suspicion as to why our internet has been a little bit wonky the last week or so.
Yeah, I guess because they've been playing around with the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right, just trying to understand how this is going to work. Mm-hmm. I don't really understand how that works. It seems odd to me, no? Like, isn't it just, like, what do you have to do additionally? This isn't just a cable.
I mean, isn't it all in the cloud?
It's all in the cloud.
It's all in the cloud.
I have never really questioned what the cloud is. I just agree, oh, okay, it's in the cloud.
Nor should you.
I'm like, I have no idea how to
The cloud is all-seeing.
Access
The
the
cloud
cloud.
is all-knowing.
It sees us. It watches us.
It listens to us.
It stores our data. And that's all I know.
And we thank it for that.
And actually, Sibs brought up the internet to JT.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about connecting the North.
Okay.
And what that was. So, yeah, I mean, we'll ask her more about that.
Okay.
Because I didn't listen to the answer, and I don't know.
That was between Sibs and JT.
It was a private conversation
right?
that we'll
Yeah.
air publicly.
We are not privy to that information yet.
Correct.
Maybe at 7:30.
I'm just the technical guy.
So, yeah, looking forward to that. You may be waking up this morning if anywhere in the north, but let's focus on Yellowknife because, well, that's where we are. And it is snowy outside. There is snow just resting on the sidewalks, dusted throughout the streets. It's blowing. It started out this week with very Halloween-y vibes immediately following Thanksgiving. And now I think we're just leapfrogging Halloween, and we're just headed right into Christmas.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like we're in the middle of a blizzard, but with not a whole lot of snow. Like
Yeah.
the wind is just, I mean, the snow's fine. You know, kind of expected a little bit of snow to start coming around this time of year.
Right. Yeah.
But the wind.
Yeah.
I was up, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was up around 2 o'clock in the morning.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And I couldn't get back to sleep because I live in a trailer and I could feel the whole house shaking.
Oh, my God.
And you could hear the wind howling. Even Dre was kind of shifty and moving around like, what's going on, man? And yeah, then I just couldn't get back to sleep. So,
Yeah.
it's been a long night, but
Ooh.
that wind, it's wild.
It's whistling. So, if you're waking up this morning and perhaps headed to work on foot, I wasted no time yesterday. I called it. It's parka season. And if you are still debating that, if you're still saying Lecter, you're in the north, you gotta be a little bit tougher than that. Look outside. It is minus 14 with the wind chill. It's not going to be like sunny or anything today.
It's
so
not
you
gonna
don't
get
even
better.
have that warmth. It's not going to get better. It's going to be windy. 40 kilometers gusting to 60, and that's how it's going to stay pretty much. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Tomorrow, 30 kilometers gusting to 50. Northwest winds, so they're cold winds, no less.
If you're under 100 pounds, I suggest you put sand in your pockets or something.
Yeah.
Because luckily I got some weight to keep me grounded. But even still, the wind yesterday, that big gust hits you and you kind of stand upright.
Yeah.
Like, it's powerful.
If you don't weigh the equivalent to a trailer or heavier, then, I mean, you could get blown away this morning.
This could be it for you.
The Mornings at the Cabin podcast. Hey, it was early. What do you want from us?
Lecter, AJ, and Sarah Negative Sibley joins us this morning. How you doing this morning, Sarah?
Good morning. I am well, thank you.
Oh, you're so negative all the time.
We had such a ray of sunshine
My
in
goodness.
the studio, and then in comes Sarah.
Dark cloud.
And I brought the snow.
And you brought the snow. AJ felt like we should give a little context to the whole Sarah Negative Sibley thing. Now, if you were listening to Mornings at the Cabin yesterday, you may have heard that I brought up the fact that it struck me as odd that when you were doing your weather forecast, you said -3,
Yeah.
-2,
Yeah.
instead of -3, -2.
I did it again today as well.
You know what? And I love that you stuck to your guns. I love that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect it. And you put on your Instagram a little poll just to see if you were totally out to lunch here, or if me and Ollie perhaps were the ones who were out to lunch.
Well, Ollie says below, so he's in his own kind of.
The third category.
Yeah.
Well, wishy-washy. You can't pick a side. But you put it on your Instagram. You made a poll. How's that poll sitting right now?
So 78% of people have said that they say minus.
Okay.
And 22% are on my team.
Okay.
Would you say most of your followers are Canadian?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting
indeed. I find it interesting that Ollie says below.
Oh, he
Because-
says minus.
Yeah, so he does say minus. Okay,
Yeah.
so that minus I think is a Canadian thing.
Yes. Well,
Because if you ask
Maybe.
any one of my Australian friends what -3 is, they would say -3.
yeah. Really?
Yeah.
So I should go to Australia, is what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. You'd be a perfect fit.
It's your homeland.
There we go.
You totally fit in there. How's that, AJ?
I think it might be getting worse.
Get worse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I got to practice on the
It's
morning
easier
show
when
more.
Jesse's here and he's doing it as well because you compare it to both of you and it's like, okay, I guess it's not so bad.
Do you think mine's better than Jesse's?
Hit or miss. Some days,
Yeah.
yeah.
Guys,
There you
back
go.
and forth. Yeah, that was
Oh,
terrible. Do they say back and forth in Australia?
I get, yeah.
Okay.
They say pretty much all the words in the English language.
Okay.
They just like to shorten them to.
I'm just going to call it Aust from now on.
Yeah.
Just do an Australian shortening of the word for no reason whatsoever.
You know they say Oz all the time, right?
They say Oz. Of course they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just make your own Australian nicknames. They've already done that.
All right. Well, nothing's original in my brain. So let's just move to this morning when Sarah Sibley had a excellent opportunity to interview our very own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, bright and early.
Yes.
Sarah, how was that?
It was good. So AJ and I were here bright and early, checking out Studio 2 to make sure everything was going to work out so we didn't lose the internet or
Right.
lose
Yep.
the Prime Minister in the 8 minutes that I had to chat with him. Very busy man. So, yeah, it was very interesting. We talked a lot about, a lot in the 8 minutes we had, about how vulnerable people will be protected in the NWT, especially with COVID-19, housing issues, things like that. We talked about the economy and some things that they're looking at doing or how to protect the Northwest Territories economy. The most interesting thing to me, which I've kind of talked to you guys about, is that we asked him if he feels as if the NWT borders should stay shut,
Right.
which is a really big topic right now. A lot of people are for it, a lot of people against it, very mixed crowd. He actually agreed with Premier Cochrane saying that we should keep them closed because it is allowing the spread of COVID-19 to stay away from the Northwest Territories and protecting the people that we have in
Right.
here, which was interesting to me.
Fair enough. And yeah, I mean, I still feel like most people are fairly on board with the border being closed. Like, yeah, it's frustrating, obviously, the 2 weeks of isolation, and we're hoping that rapid testing will, ease that a little bit, and we'll have some more options open up. But yeah, no, I feel like there's no reason for him to dance around on that answer. It's like, yeah, it's been very effective, obviously, in keeping any kind of spread out of the territory. So,
And I don't think that's the big fuel for the frustration. I think the border closure is closure with parentheses. It is.
yeah, you didn't do any gotcha journalism. You're like, ha, it's never been closed.
Yeah.
I
The
did
Charter of
not.
Rights
That would
says
have
you
been false. Yeah.
But I think it's just the frustration that the borders are closed and then we can't. We're just not back to business as normal within the borders.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the real frustration.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it makes it tougher to go see family and come back and not have all of your holidays
That's true.
exhausted and then some. So it's tough on a lot of people, but I think we can all agree when we get down to it that it has definitely helped keep the territory safe, and that's obviously priority number one. How was the experience in general? Now, was it 8 minutes, like cut and dry? If you went over, you were going to be getting like dinged on your taxes or something?
I hope not.
Okay.
But yeah. So as I told you, Scott, I didn't realize there was going to be a switchboard connector.
Right,
So
yes.
I picked up the phone saying, "Good morning, Prime Minister Trudeau," to which the switchboard operator was like, "Oh, I'll connect you to him. I'm just here to facilitate that to let you know you'll be connected to him." And I'm like, Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah. I mean, it was a good dry run. I nailed it the second time. Good morning. Yeah, so that
Like,
was really...
nope, still the operator. Yeah, we're going to have
We're
him
still
on. Just
working
hold
on
on.
And then you start getting short. You're like, all right, Susie, pass me over to JT. This is
I only have 8 minutes
Prime
here,
Minister
Susie.
Trudeau.
Yeah.
Come on. But obviously, this was, I assume, your first chance to interview the Prime Minister.
Yes, it was. Ollie came in yesterday morning and was like, you have the Prime Minister for 8 minutes at 6:10 in the morning tomorrow.
And
I
how
was
did
like,
that feel?
I think my face was frozen for about 30 seconds. I was like, okay. But we kind of really took into consideration some of the things that a lot of our viewers and a lot of people reading our news have been asking us.
Right.
To kind of take that opportunity to find those really important issues and ask him those questions that Northerners have really been looking for better or more substantial, I guess, answers to.
And you got answers.
Yes, we
Well
did.
done.
Yes,
Which
we'll
is
be
good.
airing it on the Lunchtime News. The whole broadcast will be me and Justin Trudeau having a little talk, so you can definitely hear everything that we say there, but we'll also be creating some articles about it, so you can read it if you don't have time to tune in.
Beautiful. Look forward to that on cabinradio.ca and coming up this afternoon on the Lunchtime News. Sarah Negative Sibley grilling the Prime Minister. Did you ask him about his plans for 2021, most specifically beard or no beard?
I did not have the opportunity to ask him that. That would have been close in line after what my mom wanted me to ask him, which is, what socks are you wearing? But unfortunately, I had to cut both of the questions.
Had you had 9 minutes, we would have
It
gotten
would have been a
these
different
burning
deal,
questions
but-
answered.
Yeah.
What socks are you wearing?
Yeah, I think it was a big thing when he first got elected. Was that like when he would be sitting down doing interviews, like he would wear kind of like wacky socks.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I guess that was kind of a thing.
None of
but
that nonsense in radio.
No,
Can't get away with these
yeah.
wacky tactics, JT. You got to answer the questions. All right. Well done, Sibs. We'll look forward to that a little bit later on. Again, you can catch her interview with Justin Trudeau on the Lunchtime News and look forward to some follow-up stories on cabinradio.ca.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast, where we cut out all the great music and you're left with the rest.
An interesting thing came up, as it does twice a year, called Daylight Savings Time. It is coming around once again in about 16 days' time, November 1st, 2020. We will fall back. And that, of course, is the only way that I can remember because you spring forward and you fall back.
Oh, that's handy.
If we didn't have those catchy phrases to rely on, I would never remember which way we are setting our time. I noticed on my Facebook this morning, scrolling down my feed, PK, Pat Kane, of course, Jesse being the president of the Pat Kane fan club. He's not here to talk about it, but I'm sure he would bring it up because PK put on his Facebook last night that City Councillor Julian Morse failed in his petition to convince the GNWT to do away with daylight savings time. We were all sad about that this morning, which is why he is starting a change.org petition for Julian to re-petition the GNWT to do away with daylight savings time.
Man, what a hero.
Re-upping, doubling down on that petition.
Also, Julian has been fighting this good fight for years.
I think as long as I've been here. I think that is the first...
It's pretty remarkable how he's just got this burning hatred for daylight savings.
I admire it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you're going to go for it, really stick to it.
You
And
know,
he is.
it's kind of the same with Sarah Negative Sibley and how if you've been listening along to Mornings at the Cabin, you've probably noticed in the newscast she is not only sticking with the negative instead of the minus temperatures. She's been leaning into it. It's almost like she's been pausing with like a little smirk on her face.
Yeah.
High of -2.
You can see the look in her face when she says it. Smug.
I love it. I love it that she's leaning into it. And with that in mind, PK's repetition for Julian Morse to petition the government of the Northwest Territories to do away with daylight savings time. Clams and Moose last night, of course, here on Cabin Radio. Clams and Moose every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. They had Mr. Morse on the show and just asked him straight up, what do you hate about daylight savings time?
So one quick question here, Jules.
Yep.
Do you dislike both the fall back and spring ahead?
No, really what I don't like is when we go back to standard time in November. Because what ends up happening is we have limited daylight in the winter. That's not something that's going to change. And when I put this petition forward, a lot of people were kind of complaining about that and saying, well, you can't change how much daylight there is in the day. And I was like, no, you can't. Obviously, that's not what I'm suggesting here. But you can change when in the day you experience that. And so for me, just straight up, I'm not a morning person. And for
me neither.
Yeah,
I hate it.
And even if I was a morning person, I mean, I think I could accept the darkness. But what drives me nuts is that, in the middle of November, when things are getting dark, we go and change the time, and all of a sudden it's getting dark at like 3:30, 4 o'clock instead of like 5:30, 6 o'clock kind of thing. And it just really puts such a damper on my early winter.
It just grinds his gears.
It just grinds. You can tell he's tired. He's been fighting this fight for years, and he's just exhausted.
And he knows that in 16 days, we're going to fall back.
Yep.
We're going to lose that hour.
He's going to sit there. He's be like, am I a crazy person?
Yeah.
Does nobody not think this is crazy?
And if you are one of those crazy people who has been listening to Julian Morse and his cruise, that's not the right word. His crusade, that's the right word.
You're still an Australian mindset. You just shortened it up.
Yeah, his cruise.
It's crazy. It's
crazy.
crazy.
There we go. His crusade to get daylight savings time abolished from the north, which I'm fully behind.
Yeah, so am I. I just don't see the point.
If you're one of those people who has been listening to him this whole time and thinking, well, like he said, Julian, we can't change the amount of daylight in a day. We can't change the Earth's orbit or the rotation. Don't be ridiculous.
I also like the part where he says, I'd be okay with the darkness. Like a Batman villain.
It was a bit Batman.
I think you're taking this way too seriously, Jay.
Well,
we're talking about an hour.
You know what, AJ? Someone's got to take it seriously.
You're right.
And I'm glad that Julian continues to be that person. And not only continues to be that person, but is being encouraged, repetitioned by his good buddy, Pat Kane, to repetition the GNWT to do away with daylight savings time. Keep fighting the good fight, Councillor Morse.
The Mornings at the Cabin podcast.
Bringing in the Halloween vibes because it's October 15th and we only have half a month left to express said vibes. You may have seen this on Facebook yesterday. If you follow the Capitol Theater on Facebook, you know that they have made a major announcement in that they are continuing to do all that they can do in the wake of COVID, where there just aren't a whole lot of movie options. They are bringing back an absolute classic for the Halloween season. Capitol Theater is showing Hocus Pocus starting tomorrow. All seats, $7. That is a steal of a deal, and Hocus Pocus is an absolute Halloween classic. AJ, you have never seen Hocus Pocus, so let's just take a moment before we get in, because I love that they posted the actual movie trailer, the original trailer. So here you go, the trailer for Hocus Pocus.
Jump back, twist the bones and bend the back.
Back in 1693, the people of Salem, Massachusetts.
I love that voice.
Yes.
Thought they got rid of the
1693.
Sanderson sisters for good.
Back in 1693.
We shall be back.
300 years later, it's Halloween Eve, and they're back.
It's 1993.
We're home.
Are you broads a little old to be trick-or-treating?
We're talking about 3 ancient hags versus the 20th century.
Are we allowed to say hags anymore?
I don't think it's
Now
encouraged.
they're digging up old friends and running amok,
It's a zombie.
looking for the one thing they miss most.
Who stayed for supper?
I'm not hungry.
But we are.
They eat children.
Has the power to
Oh,
stop
what?
them
Prepare to die
Yeah.
again.
It's witches, right?
It's a dark turn.
before all Salem falls under their spell.
You can't eat children and have a musical number.
It's Bette Midler, man. She's got to sing.
I guess if anyone.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Bette Midler,
Hello.
Sarah Jessica Parker,
Would thou dance with me?
and Kathy Najimy. Hocus Pocus.
Into the night!
They love to fly. And it shows.
Good night.
And it shows.
No screaming.
They're really good at flying.
They're witches. They fly, and it shows.
And it really shows.
We show them flying in the movie. There you go. The original trailer for Hocus Pocus, which you can catch at Capitol Theater starting tomorrow. Very exciting stuff. AJ, is this the year that you watch Hocus Pocus?
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, you said you get a lot of incredulous reactions from people when you tell them.
I do.
You drop that bombshell.
Yeah, I get the what?
Yeah.
You've never seen Hocus Pocus?
I'm surprised you never saw it in like your childhood. Like it's a great Halloween movie for kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't it sounds like a classic 90s flick.
Yeah.
With some and the 90s were really good at this. Like
Yes.
the weird dark undertones, but in like a really light family friendly way.
Yeah.
Like you watch back old Disney movies, you're like, "Oh my goodness. This is racy."
And it's amazing too because like there's a few like there's a super outdated Madonna joke in there where it just like timestamps is like, "Oh yeah, that's early 90s."
Yeah, it puts you in the era.
Yeah, that's right. It's amazing.
1693.
I recommend perhaps you go purchase a $7 ticket. Go see Hocus Pocus this Halloween season. If not, perhaps you can borrow either the VHS or DVD version from Nicole. She's got either.
Okay.
Got you covered.
So you've seen it.
You can even borrow our VCR if you want.
You have a VCR.
We have a VCR.
I thought they discontinued those in 1693.
They did, and then 300 years later, 300 years later, they're back. And they fly.
Oh boy, do they fly well.
There you go. Check it out on Facebook, Capitol Theater, doing a fantastic job and showing Hocus Pocus starting tomorrow right here in Yellowknife.
Thanks for listening. Check out more from the show at cabinradio.ca and by following the Mornings at the Cabin Facebook page.